How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are hopping in finally to an off-season preview for the Vancouver Canucks. I've been wanting to do this video for a little bit. I just didn't know how to do it exactly, how I wanted to do it. I figured out how I want to do it, and now we are ready to do it. This one's going to be a bit of a long video. This might be longer than my usual videos, except for the franchise mode videos. Those ones are usually long, so it'll probably be not sure how long, but around that range. We're going to go through a lot of stuff today. We're going to be going through Vancouver's cap space, their lineups currently with the holes they have in their roster. I believe the holes they have in their roster. Targets they can go after in free agency. Targets they could go after in trades. People I think they should bring back from their RFAs, their UFAs. People who could get an extension. It's a lot to go through here. And yeah, let's get right into it. Alright, the first thing we're going to start with is the lineups with the holes in them. We have it up now. I have DeBrusk and Pettersson on the first line. They need a right winger. Now, Hoglander and Sherwood rotated on that wing side for those guys. Besser would be that one spot right there. So the right wing right now has a hole, whilst the second line, we don't have a center. Now, I have O'Connor on the second line. You could move O'Connor and Joshua down, which, when I add the additions, potential additions into this, you'll see that Joshua and Connor move down a line. Then we have Garland on the right side with no center. They need to go get a center. We're going to be people that we talk about in this video that are already linked to potentially being a second line center. Then Garland on the right wing. Then we move down to the third line. We've got Joshua, Hedel, and Hoglander. Now Garland, Bluger, Joshua was the lifeline, the third line. So you can move Hedel up to a second line center. But I don't think he can play second line center. And I don't think he'll end up playing second line center this season for the Vancouver Canucks. Then on the fourth line, you have Bluger and Sherwood with a blank spot there. Now O'Connor or Joshua could move down into that blank spot, as we got Oman and Ratu, who could also move up into that spot while Connor and Joshua move down. You could also pick up some extra depth on that left side. But I think what you need to pick up on that left side is definitely a middle six or top six forward. Defense, it's fine. We got Hughes, Hronek, Pettersson, Myers, Forbert, Pettersson with Mancini. I think our D-core is set. They've built it, and we really are lacking now on our forward core. Goaltenders, now we have a problem with goaltending with how good Shelovs is doing for Abbotsford, but Demko, Lankinen, Shelovs. If I were the Canucks, I might be more comfortable letting Shelovs go on waivers at the start of the season, maybe try to sneak him through at the start of the season, but Demko and Lankinen could be your 1-2 going into the season. There are trade rumors about Demko. I don't think it's going to happen. I think both parties want to stay. Demko wants him to stay, Demko wants to stay, and management wants him to stay. If he can be healthy, he's one of the best goaltenders in the league. It's all about him being healthy. Lankinen had a great year. I think his overall, his production was great. It was his usage. We used him too much, and that was just because Demko was hurt. It was due to circumstance that he was used so much. I feel like if he didn't play as many games, his stats would look way better, because definitely during the latter half of the year, that his stats tapered down a little bit. Shelovs wasn't ready. That's why Lankinen played so much. And then when Demko would come back, he would kind of fill the lineup. Shelovs did play a good amount, but he wasn't ready when he showed in the NHL, but what he showed in the playoffs for Abbotsford definitely shows that he could be a good goaltender. There's just something else that he has to figure out. Now let's go to the off-season overview sheet that I have. I'll double-click it, load it up. So, draft picks. The Canucks have the 15th, 47th, 65, 117th, 143rd, 175th, and 207th pick. The only one we're going to worry about in terms of who they're going to select, because I don't have Puckpedia Plus, is 15th overall. Now, I ran some simulations, and the guy who came up the most is Logan Hensler, which could be a good pick, but definitely I don't think he's the pick that I would want if we're going off who I want, really. I think a guy like Cole Chesney would be nice. Let me just hop over to Puckpedia real quick and look at the first round. A guy like, if you wanted to go defense, if defense was best player available, Kashawn Aitchison would be a good pick. Other than that, I think, it's Cole Chesney. Cole Chesney could go pretty late in the draft. In this one that I ran here, he didn't go. in the first round. Which, that one's a little weird to me. I think Cole Chesney goes in the first round. He's the guy I want. I was hoping we would be closer to Roger McQueen with the whole injury problems, but I'm hearing that maybe the injuries aren't going to affect him as much and he might be fully healthy. Brady Martin is another one that would be a good pick. Jake O'Brien if he falls, but I don't think he'll fall. And yeah, so Logan Hensler looks like the guy that Vancouver could end up taking. In terms of just if you go off of what Puckpedia is saying when I was doing the simulations. Now, UFAs they have Brock Besser, Suter, Noah Juleson, DiGiuseppe, Smith, Breezeball, Hirose, Wolanin. RFAs, Ratu, Baines, Sasson, Glover, Nielsen, Wu, McWard, Felton, and Tolopilo. They have a total of 12 mil and cap space, like 12.156667. Dead cap, though, I did want to point this out. They have 5.4 mil in dead cap. And that is OEL's buyout and Ilya Mikheyev's retention. Mikheyev's retention falls off at the end of this season, whilst OEL is going to drop in price, but also he's going to be still very expensive. Like, I think 2 mil. We're still going to have that dead cap for another couple seasons until 2030. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more seasons with Mikheyev, only 1. We have only 1 retained spot being used, which is good. So we still have 2 retained spots left. I think I only put 1 retained spot in my thing. 1 retained spot left. That's incorrect. There's 2 retained spots. Possible extensions, I put down Connor Garland and Kiefer Sherwood, depending on how the season goes. I think Garland definitely would be a wait. Sherwood could try to hop on that as soon as possible. The people who I think are going to receive extensions, I have stars over. So if we go to the UFAs, Suter, I can see them giving him a contract. Now when I go to the additions side, Suter will not be in there. Suter will be kind of put in there if he is extended. But there's a guy in there that I think definitely could stop the Canucks from giving him an extension. We got Noah Juleson, who I don't think should get an extension. Brock Besser, who I think it would be nice if we could bring him back, but at this moment it doesn't look like he's coming back. We got DiGiuseppe. He's a good middle 6 guy, or bottom 6 guy. I think that he definitely could hop in the Canucks lineup. I think he just didn't have that healthy of a season this season. But yeah. I think they could bring him back, but also with the playoff run with Abbotsford, maybe he goes and gets somewhere else, gets paid a little bit more. Nate Smith, I think they should bring back mainly for Abbotsford. Same with Breezeball, Hirose, and Wolanin. Hirose is a little younger, could have some development. Wolanin, Breezeball, Smith, all Abbotsford contracts. Like if Abbotsford brings them back on an AHL contract, I wouldn't mind it. But if they were on 2 ways with Vancouver as well, that would be great. Ratu, Baines, Sasson, they have to bring back those guys. Baines looks amazing. Ratu looked really good at the end of the season. Sasson looked like he had a little bit more potential than maybe we thought. I know a lot of people who watched Abbotsford a lot thought Sasson was really good, and yeah, his game translated pretty good to the NHL level. We got Nielsen, Wu, and Tolopilo, who I also said. Now McWard, I wanted to put 1. Glover, I wanted to put 1. I feel like they might get AHL contracts with Abbotsford. If one of them were to get a 2-way contract, I think McWard. Felton, I don't know too much on. I left him blank. Maybe the Canucks let him become a UFA and then sign him. Tolopilo, though, he looked really good in his 2 games that he came up in Vancouver. He also did very good with Abbotsford this season. Jet Wu, I'm seeing some potential there, and I'm seeing some feistiness there with this playoff run with Abbotsford. And Tristan Nielsen looks very good with this Abbotsford playoff run. Definitely a 2-way contract for all 3 of those guys. Now, let's hop over to trade. Let's hop over to free agent targets before we hop over to trade targets. Now, I didn't put any unlikelies for targets, but I did kind of put some in red. So we got Jamie Benn, Riley Smith, Jack Roslovic, Jonathan Drouin, Andrei Kuzmenko, and Jeff Skinner. We'll go over them individually. We have trade targets now, which will pop up. We have JJ Peterka, Marco Rossi, Ryan McLeod, Martin Necas, Texier, and Newhook I had. Alright, trade targets will pop up now. We have JJ Peterka, Marco Rossi, Ryan McLeod, and Martin Necas, who 2 of them are unlikely. I have McLeod and Natchez unlikely. When I was doing my research, I'll extend those later. I had Texier and Newhook. I took them off the list just based off Newhook is a little younger. I feel like Montreal want to keep him instead of trying to move him for cap space. Texier is just not as good as I thought he was. Not as good, not as much scouting before I did this. And then once I started doing my scouting and seeing his point totals and just looking at his game, I kind of took him off the list. So those 2 will be blank yet again. So we have 21 out of 23 active roster spots. We have 33 of 50 contracts, standard contracts. We have 2 retained spots left, not 1. That is incorrect. And yeah, that 15th overall pick, I should have put a star because that could be moved. It's been linked with Marco Rossi so far. Now, let's hop into the first player profile, which I will do on Jamie Benn. So, Jamie Benn is a 35-year-old, 6'3", 205-pound left wing center. Over the last 3 seasons, he's played 80 games, 82, 82. So he's very consistent with being healthy and playing a lot for the Dallas Stars this past few years. I only marked down the last 3 seasons of their stats. In the third, so this past season he went 16, 33 for 49, and the season before that 21, 39 for 60, and the season before that 82, 33, 33, 45 for 78. Apologies if my writing is a little chicken scratchy, especially on the computer. It's a little hard, so bear with me. I will explain everything, and I will say everything that's on this, so that you guys, if you can't read it, then yeah. His skills, I definitely think he's very offensive. He's offensive capable. He's a very good player in terms of being in the offensive zone. He's a very physical player. Being 6'3", 205, you can add that physical dimension to the Vancouver Canucks. He's also a leader, and I would want to add playoff experience. Definitely, if we brought Jamie Benn in, he would help if we were able to get over that hump. Like, we had a bad season, we still had 90 points. If we bring in Jamie Benn and we have a good season, we could definitely make the playoffs, and I think he will definitely help in that playoff run, him being a leader. You can never have too many leaders, and playoff experience definitely would help us. His last contract was 9.5 mil for 8 seasons, which was a huge contract at the time. And he was playing up to that contract. He has fallen off a little bit. I definitely think 5.5 for 2 mil would be a sweet spot for JB Benn. I could maybe see him getting a little bit more in the open market, but I feel like with him being 35, the Vancouver Canucks being a little strapped for cap, that 5.5 for 2 seasons could be a smart move. Now, I could see maybe if he wants to come to Vancouver. I don't know if he wants to. I don't know Jamie Benn personally. I know some people might say, oh, some of these players might not want to come to Vancouver, and that is fine. But if he does take a little bit less, Jamie Benn would be definitely worth it. But I do think at 5.5, he would be worth it. The next player is, let's go Jack Roslovic. Jack Roslovic is a 28-year-old, 6'1", 194 center right wing. The past 3 seasons, he's played 81, 59, and 77, so he did have that down year, not this past season, but the season before in terms of games played. But he's been fairly consistent, getting up into the high 70s, low 80s. This past season, he went 22 goals, 17 assists for 39 points. The season where he played the last with 59 games, he had 9 goals, 22 assists for 31 points. So he played at a better point per game pace the season prior. Then 77 games, he had 11 goals, 33 assists for 44 points. A consistent 40-point producer who could also maybe reach 50 on a good lineup, playing maybe a little higher in the lineup. He's got good skating, good puck hand. He's got good skating, puck handling. He's a fairly consistent 40-point scorer who could probably get maybe 50 if he plays higher in the lineup. But him bringing him into Vancouver, I don't know if he will play higher in the lineup. He's got good skating, very good skater. He's really good with his puck handling and his playmaking. His former contract was a $2.8 million contract for 1 season. And now he looks to maybe make 4 to 3.75 for 3 seasons, maybe on the open market. He could maybe make a little less. But yeah, a 3-year contract at 3.75 for Jack Rosselnick wouldn't be too bad. He's only 28. It will take him till he's 31. He's consistently producing around 40 points with that down year, but if he played the full season, he would have scored probably close to 40. I could check right now, throw it to the calculator. So if he had 31 divided by 59, he was scoring at a half game pace. So if we times it by, he played a full 82 games, 45 points. So yeah, 45 points could reach 50 point score. Yeah, I don't mind this for Vancouver. I think definitely this would probably be a more last resort option in terms of some of the other guys on this list. Next up being Riley Smith, who is a 34-year-old 6'1", 185 right wing, left wing. He's played 79, 76, 78, so he hasn't been able to reach the 80 game point mark in the last 3 seasons, but he's been close, only being like at most 4 games away from it. He last season he had 13 goals, 27 assists for 40 points. And did I write that down again, or did he actually do that? I actually have to Google that. Riley Smith. Riley Smith, did he actually do that twice? Yeah, 13 goals, 27 assists for 40 points back-to-back seasons, but he played less games the second season. And then with 78 games, 26 goals, 30 points, 30 assists for 56 points. He's very good defensively, which would help the Vancouver Canucks having a more two-way forward. He's good secondary scoring. That's listed. I kind of didn't put it side by side. I put it on top of each other. He's a good secondary scorer. He has really good hockey IQ. I think Riley Smith would definitely be a great option for the Vancouver Canucks. He made $5 million for 3 seasons on his last contract. I think he played for Pittsburgh, New York. I have him up here. Yeah, he's played for Pittsburgh, New York, and Vegas twice throughout those last 3 seasons. And his contract, the potential contract looking at, is $4.5 to $4 million for a 1-season contract, with him being 34. I know I said Jamie Benn for a 2-year contract, but Riley Smith with a little less points than Jamie Benn, a 1-year contract might be a little more suitable, especially if we maybe fall off and do a little worse. He definitely would be a piece that other teams would look at to maybe acquire at the deadline to help with their playoff run, like Vegas maybe again. The next player is a player we are all familiar with. I'm pretty sure he's next. You know what? We're going to go someone else instead of him first. We're going to go Jonathan Drouin, a 30-year-old, 6 foot, 203-pound left wing center who's played 43 games, 79 games, and 58 games. So not playing as many games as maybe you would want, but he had that 79 game season. He had 11 goals, 26 points for 26 assists for 37 points last season. That 79 game season, he had 19 goals, 37 assists for 56 points. This is his best year out of 3. In that 58 game season, he had 2 goals, 27 assists for 29 points. He's really good puck skills. He's a good playmaking forward, and he has some really good skating attributes. He made $2.5 million for 1 season with the Colorado Avalanche, and definitely helped them. I'm not sure how he did in the playoffs. I can search that up. Jonathan Drouin. He has been playing with the Colorado Avalanche, so he's been getting some playoff experience. He played for them for the last 2 seasons. That 3rd season was with Montreal. In the playoffs, he had 3 assists in both the 3 games he played the season prior, and this past season with 7 games, he had 3 assists in the playoffs. So maybe not as productive as the Avalanche would want him to be. I think his potential contract is $3.5 to $2.75 for 2 seasons. I wouldn't mind that, especially with him being 30 years old. It would take him till he's 32. So if he does, and it's at a reasonable price to where if he does fall off, you could easily move him, and a rebuilding team would be willing to take on that cap hit and or maybe a potential winning team would be willing to take on that cap hit a little bit retained, and you would be able to get a good piece for him. It's all about asset management nowadays, and bringing in a guy in free agency, and if he doesn't really work out, getting an asset for him definitely is worth it. I think that he could be an option the Vancouver Canucks could go for. All right, now with the player that we're all familiar with, Andrei Kuzmenko. He's a 29-year-old, 5'11", 194 left wing. He in 66 games last season, he had 11 goals, 26 assists for 37 points. The season prior, he had 72 games, 22 goals, 24 assists for 46 points, and then that infamous first year with Vancouver with 81 games, 39 goals, 35 points, 35 assists for 74 points. Now I'm going to go to skills here. Playmaking, he's got good playmaking. He's got really good offensive awareness, and I added this myself. I definitely see this a lot in the playoffs. He's got a good net front presence on the power play. He's a good locker room presence as well, and I think that attests to how the Vancouver Canucks have performed since he got traded. It feels that since Kuzmenko left the Vancouver Canucks in the trade to the Calgary Flames for Elias Lindholm, definitely morale maybe dropped a little bit, and it was what was keeping the locker room together, because that's when the whole JT Miller, Elias Pettersson thing kind of started breaking out a little bit more, even though they said it was going on for seasons. You would think that maybe Kuzmenko getting moved down Pettersson a little more, because it seemed like they definitely had a lot of chemistry, not only on the ice, but they were also looked like they were best friends off the ice. He made $5.5 million for 2 seasons. The Vancouver Canucks signed him to that contract and ended up moving him. I could see him making $3.5 to $3 million for 3 seasons, taking him till he's 32. I definitely think that with a new coaching staff, he could get a little bit more ice time. He definitely proved himself a little bit more with the LA Kings with how he played. I could see him staying with LA, with them being like, maybe we should keep a guy who was starting to produce a little bit with us. But the Vancouver Canucks could take this opportunity to snag up a guy who actually could maybe help bolster the team in terms of locker room, help Elias Pettersson, which is a big thing. If you want to make Quinn Hughes stay, a big thing would be to help Elias Pettersson. And I think bringing in Andrei Kuzmenko could definitely help Elias Pettersson. Now, last but not least on this list, Jeff Skinner, a 33-year-old, 5'11", 201-pound left winger who's played consistently 70 games around these last 3 seasons with 72, 74, 79. He had 16 goals, 13 assists last year for 29 points, a big fall off in terms of point production on the Edmonton Oilers. He had 74 games the season prior. He had 24 goals, 22 assists for 46 points, and then 35, 47 for 82 in 79 games 3 seasons ago. Now, he's a really good skating. He's got really good skating attributes. He's got really good agility, and he's got a pretty good wrist shot. Production has been down a little bit. He signed a $3 million deal for 1 season with the Edmonton Oilers last season. I could see him maybe getting the same amount of money for a hopeful bounce back, whilst also maybe getting a little less at $2 million for 1 season. I think Jeff Skinner would be a decent addition to like the middle 6 for the Vancouver Canucks, and if he could find some chemistry with a Connor Garland, Philip Hedl, maybe a potential Marco Rossi if there is a trade, that definitely could bring a little bit more production to the Vancouver Canucks and could help maybe suit that contract a little bit more if they were to give him 3 for 1 more season. With him only being with him not only being 33, with him being 33 years old, I definitely don't see him signing for longer than a season. Now, we'll go to the player cards of the people who I think the Canucks could trade for. So the first one on the list was JJ Peterka. Now, he's just the first person that I thought of instead of Marco Rossi. There are other teams interested in JJ Peterka, and I could definitely see the Canucks being a strong suitor going for him. I think I've heard some rumors about it, but I think that their ultimate asset at the moment is Marco Rossi. JJ Peterka is a 23-year-old, 6 foot, 190-pound left winger. In 77 games last season, he had 27 goals, 41 assists for 68 points. In 82 games the season prior, he had 28, 22 for 50. The season before that, he had 12 and 20 for 32. he is growing in production as a young player should be. So it wouldn't be any other reason to believe that he could probably go up from here with 68 points last season in 77 games. And even if he plateaus and stays at around 70-point pace, I definitely think the Vancouver Canucks would think he's worth it. He's definitely got an underrated, very strong shot. He's a very good forechecker. He was making under $1 million for the last 3 years on, I think, his entry-level deal. He's looking to maybe make around $8 to $7 million for 8 years. I think definitely locking a guy like a 23-year-old J.J. Peterka up would be kind of like the Ottawa Senators Jake Sanderson type deal, locking up a really good forward who could probably break out into maybe a little bit higher potential and definitely could work his way into a contract, like getting a big shoe when you're a kid so you could grow into it. Marco Rossi is next, a 23-year-old 5'9", 192-pound center. In his last 3 seasons, he's played 82 games, and 19 games. And that is good if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan looking at that availability. In that 19-game season 3 seasons ago, he had 1 assist. We're going to forget about that one because that was more of a coming in as a 20-year-old kind of season, like how a Lekkermecki might have a season like that. In 82 games 2 seasons ago, he had 21 goals, 19 assists for 40 points. In 82 games last season, he had 24 goals, 36 assists for 60 points. He's a great skater with a great shot, and he's physical, even though he's only 5'9", which is taller than me, but in terms of NHL, only 5'9". He was making under $900,000 last season for 3 seasons on an entry-level deal, and he was, I don't know if it was entirely their ELCs, I could be wrong, but I also could be right. At the same time, he would probably look at a $8 million deal for 8 seasons for Marco Rossi. The reason I say an 8x8 is because you would probably want to go trade for him. Well, you have to trade for him instead of offer sheeting him because you don't want to give up 4 first-round picks. I think the compensation might be that NHL RFA compensation. They did release it, so you can see it. Compensation 2025. Puckpedia has it. We have 4 first-round picks for $11 million. So it would be at the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is what it would cost you to do that, and the Vancouver Canucks are not even eligible to be able to do that. The only ones that they're able to do for the high range is 4 first-round draft picks. They can't even do the 2 first, a 2nd, and a 3rd. They can't do a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. They can't even do a 1st and a 3rd. They have to do a 2nd-round pick minimum. They can't do the 3rd-round pick. They could do the none. Every team could do the none, though, and they have that 1st-round pick for this season because they traded away their 3rd-round pick, their own 3rd-round pick this season. I forget what for, but yeah. Marco Rossi definitely has been linked to the Vancouver Canucks. There's been a rumor that he was offered they offered the 15th overall pick for him, which, I mean, yeah, you get a little bit more recent with your skater if you do get that for the 15th overall pick, but also you could just have a guy in your system with the 15th overall pick. Alright, the next one. These 2 are unlikely. I marked them down as unlikely. Martin Necas, a 26-year-old 6'2", 198 center right wing. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, they will never get Martin Necas. No. And I'm fine with that. He has played 79 games, 77 games, and 82 games, so pretty good availability for him last season. He had 27 goals, 56 assists for 83 points. I'm really messing that up today. And then the season before that, he had 24 goals, 29 assists for 53 points. Then in 82 games, he had 28, 43 for 71. So a little bit of a dip in the middle season, but still a pretty good productive forward with above point per game pace this season. Even if he played a fully healthy season, he's got really good speed, agility, and playmaking, and he's currently on a contract for $6.5 million for 1 more season. I definitely think Necas is a bit of a stretch. Probably might cost a little more than a guy like Marco Rossi because he is locked up at 6.5 for 1 more season. And then when you get that cap rise next year, you can give him a little bit more of an extension, it might be a smarter option for the Vancouver Canucks to maybe pay a little more and go after a guy like Martin Necas so that they can extend him with a little bit more comfortability in the offseason next season, comparative to this season with only having $12 million cap space. But the more realistic options are guys like Marco Rossi and JJ Peterka, who they are going to have to give contracts to this season. That's the only reason I really think Martin Necas would be a smart option for the Vancouver Canucks, is because they don't have to give him that extension immediately. They could give it a season and use that extra cap space that would be there from the cap going up, and maybe some contracts expiring that you can move out to extend a guy like Martin Necas, and those contracts being like Tyler Myers, for example, who I believe his contract expires. I think he might be one more season. Yeah, so he'll be for 2 more seasons, so I'm incorrect on that. But yeah, that's what I think for Martin Necas. And then another guy is Ryan McLeod. He's a little bit cheaper to where you can actually give him you could bring him in and he would be a little bit more realistic of an option. Now, do I think Buffalo's going to get rid of him? No. He is 25-year-old, 6'3", 187-pound center. He played 79 games, 81 games, and 57 games last season. 33 for 53. In the season prior, 12, 18 for 30. The season prior, 11, 12 for 23. Had a breakout season, it seems, with the Buffalo Sabres, and didn't really quite have it with the Edmonton Oilers, but definitely getting a guy who the Edmonton Oilers used to have would be a fun thing for the Vancouver Canucks to go out and get. Definitely a bit of a project. He could fall off in terms of production. Maybe Buffalo was just a good situation for him, and that's the reason he was playing really good. He's got elite speed, good playmaking, and he's got pretty good defensive awareness. He's currently making $2.1 million for the next 2 seasons. And I put down a potential contract for him. I should have put down for Necas. I could see Necas making could be 8 to 9, maybe depending on the season he had. He could even make upwards to 10, which could make the Vancouver Canucks not want to go for Necas a little bit more. But remember, 6.5 mil of that is going to be from his current contract, so it's only really a raise instead of bringing in 10 mil. Then. So, for Ryan McLeod, I believe that $5 to $4 million for a 4-season contract would be realistic, depending on how he plays for the 2 years. That $2.1 million really definitely helps make Ryan McLeod look like a good option and could help Buffalo with some cap space. Now, for the final thing, finally we've gone through a half hour of recording this video. We get to the end part where I'll put in who I think the most realistic players to come in, and who I think in green are the realistic players who I think, or maybe guys who I probably want a little bit more, and then the red are players who are maybe a little more unlikely. So Necas and McLeod, we already know are going to be red. Rossi, I'm going to tell you, is green because I think that is a good option. The other guys, I'm not going to say that it's entirely unrealistic. They could be secondary options, but at the same time, I feel like something has to go in certain ways for those players to be brought in. So, if we bring it up now, DeBrusk and Pettersson would be on the first line with Andrei Kuzmenko, and I know it's crazy to put Kuzmenko there up on the first line, but chemistry of Pettersson, that's the thing that I brought up, and definitely will help that lineup. He'll be like that net front guy, whilst Pettersson could be the playmaker, and DeBrusk could be a little bit more of a goal scorer, and I know, a very streaky line when it comes to it. And if Pettersson could bounce back, I do feel like he could definitely boost DeBrusk and Kuzmenko. I think if Pettersson played a fully healthy, fully good season with DeBrusk this season, you would see a lot less streaky play from him. And Kuzmenko definitely could be that boost that Pettersson needs, more in morale-wise and maybe even in on the ice-wise, to help Pettersson bounce back. Connor Garland has some new line mates with potentially, I feel like Jeff Skinner and Jamie Benn could be on that line. You can move Dakota Joshua up. I feel like O'Connor could be that 4th line guy, whilst maybe Joshua could be on that 2nd line. If you bring Skinner in, put on the 3rd line with Hedl and Hoglander. But I think if you bring in Jamie Benn in, definitely that line of a big Jamie Benn, a small Connor Garland, and a Marco Rossi who is physical for a smaller stature. definitely could help. He's closer to 6 foot than Connor Garland is, but he can be physical with that small stature. Garland could be physical with that small stature. Jamie Benn's big and physical. I definitely think that would be a really good physical second line that would help boost the Vancouver Canucks. Now, is it realistic in terms of cap? Not really. I feel like we'd have to move out a contract like Tyler Myers, like Niels Oglander, to be able to make the money work. Maybe even a Filipino, Teddy Bluger having to move up. I could definitely see a guy like Suter being on that second line. You bring Jamie Benn with Suter and Andrei Kuzmenko. Could be a very good free agency class. Now, I know a lot of people might not consider that a great free agency class, but I feel like what Vancouver's going for definitely could help. Third line would stay O'Connor, Hedl, Hoglander. You can move Joshua up. You can move Joshua up to the second line, Skinner down. I think Skinner would definitely help the middle six for Vancouver. And Joshua, with how he showed last season, he's still got it. He's still got it. He could definitely move up to the second line and still produce pretty good. Hoglander's my big question mark. I could see him being moved and to bring in these three guys, and then maybe trusting a guy like Ratu, trusting a guy like Sasson, maybe Baines to come up play on that fourth line, because we know Sherwood could definitely move up with that third line if he plays consistently. Fourth line, Joshua, Bluger, Sherwood, swap O'Connor. I feel like O'Connor, Bluger, Sherwood would be a little bit better. Your two scratches on forward side, you got Ratu and Alman. Center-wise, you got Natchez and McLeod. I think McLeod, if you bring him in, he could be a second-line center, maybe more of a third-line guy playing with Hoglander on that speedy line with O'Connor and Hoglander. That might be a really good line, actually. Natchez would replace Rossi on that middle center, and then definitely could move up to a 1C if Pettersson's out. He'd be a consistent guy. And I feel like Hedl could definitely replace. So I feel like Natchez would be more of a injury insurance kind of player if he was playing on that second line. JJ Peterka would probably move up, honestly, to play. Actually, you know what? I'd probably move him here if I brought JJ Peterka and put Philip Hedl up. Peterka, Hedl, Garland could definitely do wonders on that second line. Jonathan Drouin would also be a guy where I'd bring Rossi in and I'd switch Ben out for Drouin and play them with Garland, or play him with Garland and Rossi. Smith and Roslovic, I feel like if you're not going to bring Kuzmenko and Garland, moves up to that first line right winger. Then you could have a guy like Smith in that second line, and then Roslovic, you can switch him and Hoglander kind of in that role on the right side. Defensively, Hughes, Hronek, Pettersson, Myers, Forbert, Petey, and Mancini kind of is how it's going to go for this decor. I don't feel like there's going to be much changes. We are hearing some stuff about Bowen Byram. You're going to have to move a guy like Hronek or Pettersson if you want Bowen Byram to come in. I don't think they're comfortable moving a guy they just extended. Two guys they just extended. Quinn Hughes, definitely not. Tyler Myers. Like, I know you could bring in a guy like Bowen Byram, stack that decor up, be a little bit more defensive heavy, but I feel like the thing you got to focus on is forwards, which is why everything is focused on forwards. Goaltending, Demko, Lankinen, and Shilovs. I definitely think that if you want to go Lankinen and Shilovs, you could use Demko as a trade asset for cap space. And a guy like JJ Peterka, a guy like Marco Rossi, a guy like Ryan McLeod, a guy like Martin Natchez. I feel like Buffalo would definitely take on a goaltender. Minnesota, maybe not as much. Colorado, maybe. Yeah, I think Colorado would definitely take a guy like Demko. And Buffalo would definitely take a guy like Demko. And you could probably even get a guy like Devin Levi back in the trade. Add a little bit of a sweetener, and now you got Shilovs, Levi, Lankinen, which could kind of help. Now, Buffalo fans could probably yell and scream at me about that, but if you get a guy like Demko, you have to get rid of one of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen or Devin Levi in an opposite trade, but I feel like the Vancouver Canucks could definitely benefit from acquiring one of those guys. And for me, I feel like Devin Levi might be the better candidate because Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen could play behind Demko and learn. But yeah, that is about it for this offseason preview for the Vancouver Canucks. This is what I believe could happen. Now, in terms of when these things could happen, I feel like if you're going with Rossi, Peterka, Natchez, McLeod, anytime from draft to even now, I could get off this video and I'm already out of date. Hell, Zegras just got traded right before this video for Ryan Poehling and a couple picks. I could get off this video and Marco Rossi could be a Vancouver Canuck. I could get off this video. JJ Peterka could be a Vancouver Canuck. Natchez and McLeod Could be unlikely, though. Free agency is the rest of it. Kuzmenko, Ben Skinner, Joanne Smith, and Russell Vick. We're going to have to wait till July 1st to see if those end up panning out. But that is it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is my longest video. It's going to take a while to edit. This might come out a little late on the Monday, but it will come out nonetheless. If you made it all the way to the end, I appreciate it so much. This is probably the video I've been waiting to do. It's the one I've been most excited to do. The one I've done the most research for, and I hope that it shows in how I did in the video. So, if you guys like this video, check these two videos up here. The video on your right is the video from Friday, the franchise mode video. The video on your left is the video from Wednesday about Florida winning the Stanley Cup, and subscribes are right under there. So the next video will be on Wednesday. Now, if the Abbotsford Canucks win tonight, the video will be on Wednesday, but if they lose and it goes to 7, the video will be on Thursday. I will be able to get it out for Thursday. It won't have to be delayed a whole week. So you might have to wait one more day for the Wednesday video, but if not, Abbotsford wins tonight. I'll see you guys Wednesday. So see you guys